Hi, everyone. I wanted to welcome you all to our call this morning. We're going to have a really great, informative half hour here. And I really wanted to thank you for taking the time to join us and listen in and learn what we have to share. We have a really special guest on the call today. Dr. Alice Beretta is joining us all the way from Northeast Georgia, where she has a practice as an equine veterinarian. And she is going to be sharing with us today her story and how she and why she started to build a business using these activators, not only for herself and her family, but also in her business, and how she was able to manage it all and put it all together. So we're really excited to have you join us, Alice. Thank you so much for taking the time today to do that. And I'm just gonna mute all of us, and then Alice can unmute herself, so there's just no background noise, okay? Thank you so much again for joining us this morning. I'm coming to you from Maui, Hawaii, and Alice is coming to you from Northeast Georgia. So you gotta love Zoom. All right, take it away, Alice.
Okay, great. It looks like I'm unmuted, so you should be able to hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. All right, let me see. I love technology. Let me see if I can, there's a little sarcasm there. I'm not a big fan. Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. And, okay, let's see. Can you guys see my PowerPoint? It's being a little slow to pull up on my end. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. All right, so I am really excited today. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. This is something that came to me from a dear colleague of mine, and I have to say I'm so glad that she shared it with me because it's information that I just hadn't learned about. And I'll go deeper into my story, but I just wanted to introduce a little bit more about myself. I'm an equine veterinarian. I own my own practice in Northeast Georgia, and I love that lifestyle. I love being able to kind of juggle and work for myself and own my own practice and work the hours that I want to work. But sometimes it's a little, I feel like I am juggling and burning the candles at both ends. I have two wild boys that are 10 and 8 years old that keep me busy. And so life can be a little chaotic. And when this came into my life, I was definitely not looking for one more thing to do, of course. But I really appreciated the science. I have a background in biochemistry, and I'm an equine veterinarian, so I have that science background. And people would always hand me, tubs that they would pull out of their tack rooms with dust all over them, like, is this good for my horse? What about this one and this one? And I'd have to take pictures of all the ingredients and then go do some research. And there just wasn't anything that, was anything like this that I really felt could help the whole horse. So when this came to me and I dove into the science and dug into the details, I just realized how powerful this could be, and I couldn't wait to implement it in my practice and started on some of my patients. And then I also thought of some human beings, including myself, that could benefit. So NERV2 activation is for everyone. If you breathe oxygen, it will help you. So it is something that I use in my equine practice, but it's actually originally a human supplement that was also marketed for dogs. And we use the human version for horses. So I do truly believe it's a vital approach to our horses' health, and it's something that horse owners, veterinarians, anybody who works with horses needs to know about. So kind of, not to get too technical, but I think this is very important for people to understand, is at the root cause of disease is something called oxidative stress. It leads to inflammation, and it affects every cell in the body. And it's really just a byproduct of our metabolism, of being alive and breathing oxygen. When we breathe oxygen, the side effect or the byproduct of that are these little free radicals. And our bodies are actually very well equipped to get rid of those free radicals. But as we age and we have other stressful environments that we live in, then that oxidative stress kind of gets out of control and it leads to disease and aging. So oxidative stress is present in all of our cells. And just to give you an example, we produce 300 sextillion free radicals a day. That's a whole lot of zeros. And unfortunately, it's similar to just the browning of an apple. The same thing is happening in our cells. So how does oxidative stress affect your horse, and why is it important to you? And, you know, before we go any further, I just want to go over the fact that this is a nutritional supplement that we're talking about, and that with natural health, we're really just trying to support the horse. And you know, we don't talk about how, because our products are natural, they're not FDA approved for the treatment or the prevention of disease. So we do want to cover that. But there's a lot of information there that is extremely helpful. So how does oxidative stress affect your horse? Metabolic diseases, I see a lot of metabolic syndrome, and you guys have all heard of equine Cushing's. Inflammatory airway diseases, you know, equine asthma is a big one. We see a lot of that here in the Southeast with all of the humidity and the, you know, late summer weeds especially, and horses where there's not much grass that are on hay bales. You know, they're constantly digging their noses into those big round bales and just inhaling a funnel full of allergens. And that's something that a lot of horses have to contend with for their entire lives. And it can really take its toll on their respiratory tract. Eye diseases, you know, we see a lot of inflammatory conditions involving the eyes that are kind of disheartening. I mean, horses do really well with no eyes or just one eye, but it's still something we'd rather not have to deal with. Osteoarthritis is a big one. We all have joints and we all need to preserve them for as long as possible so that we can have a functional, comfortable life. And that's a big deal when it comes to horses. So many become unwanted from overuse and not being able to hack it. You know, they work really hard for us. Tendon injuries, any exercise related injury, sarcoids and other tumors. That's a big one. I don't know about you guys, but we see a lot of different types of tumors. Sarcoids that are a very common one that we see in our area. So the big question is, how do we fight oxidative stress and this free radical damage? You know, that's kind of the $1 million question. And everybody's heard about direct antioxidants. We've all, you know, heard about a lot of the horse supplements have different vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, omegas, flavonoids. And unfortunately, they're not enough. And the reason they're not is these direct antioxidants are very different from the indirect antioxidants, which are big molecules that our bodies make. So we have kind of our antioxidant defenses that work differently from the antioxidants that you take. So it's really about trying to activate or kind of flip the switch on making more antioxidants instead of taking antioxidants. And so these indirect antioxidants that our bodies make work at 1,000,000 to 1 per second instead of a 1-to-1 ratio. So they really work effectively to combat these free radicals and that oxidative stress or oxidative damage. So this is a great analogy I like to share with people. Your direct antioxidants work at a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's like having 1 Dixie cup of water that you're throwing at a barn fire. Well, yeah, the water might help a little, but you're not gonna get rid of that fire. You're not gonna squelch it. You're not gonna make any progress. Your indirect antioxidants are like a fire hose that's spraying constantly over and over and really making a difference and squelching that fire. So that's kind of the difference there, where your direct antioxidants help, but they're not enough to make a difference. So how do we make more indirect antioxidants? How do we help horses make more of those, you know, really powerful antioxidant molecules? And the answer is this NRF2 pathway, or we call it NRF2. And it's what stimulates the expression. It turns on your DNA to make more antioxidant enzymes. And so the supplement that I use in my practice that I recommend is called Protandim. And it is amazing in a lot of different ways. But what's so important about it to know is that it decreases oxidative stress. There's actually a human study showing that it reduces oxidative stress by 40%, an average of 40% in 30 days, which is huge. You're almost cutting it in half. And when you think about oxidative stress being the root cause of inflammation and disease, you're really able to support these horses in a way that nothing else can. And what I love about it is I always, when I'm looking for different research and information on supplements, I always go to pubmed.gov. You may want to write that down, pubmed.gov. And that's a National Institute of Health website. And that's where you want to look for science, real science, not just Google. You can find a lot of pseudoscience or just false science or misleading information. So I always tell people go to a reputable source. And so for medical professionals, that's where you want to go, is pubmed.gov. And when you look up Protandim, you will see that we have 28 peer-reviewed studies. So the research is there, studies on heart disease, cancer, arthritis, just lots and lots of just incredible science. And if you love that stuff, go and read it. If you don't, that's okay. Just try it and you'll see the results, and you'll love that even more. So that's kind of a little bit about Protandim. Just dosage wise, I usually start horses on 2 tablets once a day. So twice the human dosage. And a lot of horses do really well on 2 tablets and then can be decreased to 1 tablet and maintained at 1 tablet. But I would start your horse on 2 and then, see how he does from there. This is a little bit nerdy, but I'm a visual person and this always helps me. This is how it works. That's how that NRF2 protein works. And what it is it's just a little messenger protein. It's that little red circle, the NRF2. And when that pathway is activated, it just releases NRF2. And then it enters the nucleus of the cell, binds your DNA, and literally turns on, just flips the switch on the production of those antioxidant enzymes. It turns on detoxification pathways and decreases inflammation and decreases fibrosis. So those are actually what we call the survival genes. And I don't know about your horses, but our horses definitely need more survival because they tend to be anti-survival creatures. They're very fragile. They always get into trouble. They have huge hearts and a lot of times will work hard for us and not complain. And after years and years of that, or even a short amount of time, it'll catch up with them. So these are the ingredients. You're probably wondering what's in it. All great herbs that have been used in Eastern medicine, but really the beauty of it is the synergy and the way that it's been formulated so that the herbs work together, and the synergy is what causes that 40% decrease in oxidative stress. This is a quote by Washington State. If you like to read the science, this is one of my favorite papers that talks about that pathway and how it works in the body, what it does. There's a table that lists diseases that can be prevented or treated by NRF2 activation. And one of my favorite quotes is in this paper, and it says that NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. This was published by Washington State. It's just a great paper to look over if you want to share with people. But I love the science. It's amazing what's out there. This is just a short paper on oxidative stress in horses specifically. And that your goal is to maintain that antioxidant-oxidant equilibrium. So you don't want to have too many free radicals damaging the body. You need to be able to increase your antioxidants so you can decrease your free radicals or reactive oxygen species. And that's what's key to the health and longevity of the horse. So some of the things that I have seen, you decrease inflammation and your antioxidant levels increase, and the benefits you're going to see is better skin and coat. That is a big one. Some of these older horses that get skin troubles, different what we call rain rot or fungal infections, and just a dull hair coat, or they hold on to those winter coats and won't shed out. You know, I see a lot of improvements there. Increased energy and endurance. Lots of people love Nerf 2 in their equine athletes. A healthier immune system, better joint health and mobility is really one of the most important things, I think, when it comes to their quality of life. You know, what you're trying to do is not necessarily increase their lifespan, but their healthy lifespan, their well span. You don't want your horse to be doing amazing for 15 years and then, you know, be crippled and not feeling well for the rest of his life. You really want to, you know, preserve their health and their joint health, especially for that long stretch of time, because they do live a long time. And they do age faster than we do. So by definition, they're going to have more oxidative stress than we do. So it's important to help them. Stronger resistance to allergies, better cardiovascular health, increased mental function, and just reduction of age-related problems, because oxidative stress leads to aging. This is one of my favorite cases, little pony named Nissa. Wonderful owner. Some of you guys might know her. Her name's Christy Simpson, but she had a little pony named Nissa, still has a little pony named Nissa. And he had a history of chronic laminitis when I told her about Protandim and metabolic syndrome. And so she did what she had been told to do. She restricted his diet and, you know, made sure that he wasn't eating too much sugar. And, you know, she did everything that she knew to do. But unfortunately, the little pony was thin, but still having troubles. And if you know anything about laminitis, unfortunately, it's a problem with the feet, but it's secondary to a metabolic disease or metabolic problem. And so restricting the diet, unfortunately, was not enough for him, and he was still really struggling. And so you can see in these pictures, she started him on Protandim in April, and you can see what's characterized this disease, the characteristic are these lines on his feet. So you can see those kind of deep ridges where you can see where those episodes were, and it's really painful. And by the month of May, that line had grown out past the halfway mark. So in just a month, he had grown, I mean, a couple centimeters. It was really impressive how much hoof he had grown. And the new hoof growth didn't have all those rings. And by the month of July, you know, and I have to add, like, that is, you know, spring and summer when the grass is lush, and we were actually able to turn him back out and let him gain a little bit of weight and be a pony again. And even though he gained a little bit of weight and was able to graze, his feet continued to improve. So he's done incredibly well. He's a small little guy, so we put him on 1 tablet of Protandim a day. This is Aiden, another great example, an older horse with Cushing's that abruptly just seemed to be losing weight, not shedding his spring coat, and he just really, it panicked his owner because she was feeding him, and it didn't matter what she fed him, he just kept losing weight and he looked terrible. And she loves this guy. He's her, you know, her pride and joy, her trail horse, and she just wanted to keep him as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And so she started him pretty aggressively on 3 tablets, even though I told her 2 would be fine, but he's a big guy, so she put him on 3, and for about a week, and then 2 tablets a day for a month, and then maintained him on 1 tablet daily. And you can see he looks like a completely different horse. I mean, it was just amazing how well he improved and how he came around. This is Lily, a 7-year-old quarter horse mare. She lives in Nevada. And that's one of the fun things about this is when you share this information, one person tells another person who tells another person. And, you know, when you have great results, you can't help but share with people. And so his owner, Jenny, had heard about it from a friend from high school. So it was really interesting. But she started this quarter horse mare on it that had suffered an navicular fracture. And the navicular bone is this tiny little bone inside the foot, but it can cause a lot of pain and a lot of problems. And they really thought that her career had ended, and they had been given a very poor prognosis, but they wanted to try. And they went ahead and put her on Protandim and gave her a year off, and then put her back to work. And sure enough, I mean, she did amazingly well. And this is her actually after she turned that last barrel. She's running home, and this has been 2 years since her injury, and she's still doing amazing. This is a little pony, actually my first patient that I put on it. Another laminitis case, just a terrible, terrible case. He had been really, really battling this disease for 10 years almost. And his owner was very diligent. She did everything she was supposed to, but we were stuck between a rock and a hard place, and there was just nothing. We were doing everything that we could do. And so he was my guinea pig, and I just decided I'm going to start him on it. He's my first patient that I put on it, and just one tablet once a day. And I never in a million years expected this response because it was really just a chronic condition that kept getting worse and worse and worse. So I did not expect him. I really had very low expectations. And so long story short, I will show you how well he did on it. So this was before we started him on it. He had a great farrier, made lovely little shoes for him that would glue on, little aluminum shoes. And he's got his winter coat on, so he does look a little rough around the edges. So you can see after 3 weeks, he was walking a little bit more comfortably. I was pleased with that. You know, didn't want to get my hopes up. This was after 8 weeks, definitely more comfortable, trying to steal some grass. He's not so worried about his feet anymore. He's actually walking, but he's still crippled. You know, still walking with a really off gait because he was sore in all 4 feet. And then after 3 months, 12 weeks, I was floored. I never imagined this horse could walk this comfortably. I mean, it was something I wouldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams. And this really opened up my eyes. You know, I had read all the science. I appreciated the science. I knew the information was incredible. But when you see a turnaround like that in a chronic condition that you know this horse has never walked comfortably in 10 years, and then in just 12 weeks, you see this type of response, it almost becomes an obligation where you just would feel guilty not sharing this information with people. And it just showed me, you know, not all patients respond this way, but some do. And it just shows you the magnitude of the information that you have on your hands. So I can't forget to share with you guys the canine version, because every horse owner has an old dog or has had an old dog. And so Protandim is the canine version. It's flavored, so it's easier to administer. And this is a friend's dog, actually, who is a hunter jumper. So, but same thing, it supports every cell in the body and will support, you know, dogs are the same way. They have a pretty toxic environment. They eat processed food, you know, we're always putting pesticides on them so they don't have fleas and things. And so anything we can do to support them and improve their quality of life. And I have one dog I'm going to share with you. Her name is Ellie. She's actually a colleague of mine's patient. She shared this video with me, or actually the owner shared this video with her. But Ellie was a 13-year-old beagle. She came in for an acupuncture consult. She was on a ton of medications and had mobility troubles. She couldn't go outside to use the bathroom. They would have to carry her out for her to pee, and she just couldn't get up and down the steps and just wasn't mobile, and they weren't quite ready to let her go, and they wanted to do whatever they could to help her. So they went ahead and started her on Protandim, and after only, I think this was 6 weeks or 8 weeks after they started her on it, the owner sent my colleague this video, and it's so cute. I mean, she's just bouncing around like a puppy. She's got the gray face of an old girl, but she doesn't feel like an old girl anymore. And they were able to wean her off of all of her pain meds. And she lived another great year, you know, great quality of life with, you know, no mobility troubles. I think they had to keep her on her thyroid medication, and she had a heart condition. So they ended up having to euthanize her because of the heart condition. But she got another full year of great quality of life, of playing with her other beagle friends, and it was just an amazing turnaround and comeback. So that's just like the sweetest story I love to share with people. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys can take these stories and just get an idea of how this can help our four-legged critters that we love so much. And we just, you know, they serve us, they work really hard, and we just want them to have the opportunity to be comfortable and live a great productive life. So if there's any questions or anything else that I can, you know, share, please let us know. I would say just really what we like to tell people is that we don't want the information to end with you. You know, once you know this, share it with someone. You just have no idea who you can help, and it's just such an incredible thing. So thank you, Tracy, for having me on the call.
Oh, thank you so much, Alice. That was amazing. And I cannot get over the pictures, the before and after pictures. That was really shocking. I mean, I have myself have seen horses recover, or I shouldn't say recover, but have amazing growth from laminitis with their hooves. And we also saved a horse that was going to be put down because they were a trail horse and they couldn't walk, and their arthritis was so bad. And within 2 months, they were back on the trail having no issues, and the owner decided not to put them down. And they got an extra, I think this horse was, Mikey was, oh my gosh, I want to say like 27 or 28, and he got another 3 or 4 years of life, which is amazing. So for me, I look at these situations and this as being something that we can offer that can really help prolong life and save a life. It's really important. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. It was beautifully said and stated, very simple to understand. We're really appreciative.
You're welcome.
So does anybody have any questions? If you do, for Dr. Beretta, you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or we can end the call and then just get back to the person that invited you to this call and let them know that you're interested in learning more. And we'll get in touch with you and give you all the information that you desire. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, yes, I'm Bella Gross-Helsen, and I'm training under Mark. And I was wondering if you're able to use Protandim or Pet Tandem for other animals as well, so cats or rabbits or...
Yeah, so I've personally used Pet Tandem in my cat, and it depends on the pickiness. Cats are tricky, and it really just boils down to the ease of administration. My cat, I was able to...
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alice.
Okay, I couldn't hear you very well, but it really just boils down to ease of administration. You know, when you're looking at a cat, they're super picky and they can be difficult. So mine, I was able to crush it because it's flavored and add it to some soft food, but some cats are really picky or their appetite's decreased. So I've heard small animal veterinarians will give them 1/8 of a Protandim, the human version, and maybe put some butter or something, you know, around it to help them swallow the pill. So I think it just depends on the type of animal and how easily you can get it down in. I would say if you're gonna crush it, you can use like a coffee grinder and crush it, or, you know, a mortar and pestle, and then mix it with something like a little applesauce or pancake syrup, and you can syringe it. Just don't crush it ahead of time. Make sure you do it right before you administer it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also give Pet Tandem to my cat, and that's exactly how I do it. I crush it, and I crush it between 2 spoons, and then I mix it into his soft food. And he's the pickiest cat on the planet. I envision if he was a child, this child would eat nothing but chicken nuggets. It's amazing. I cannot get him to eat anything, but once he started eating the Pet Tandem, now if I don't give it to him, he won't touch the food. So he knew that it was really helping him. He has an allergy to fleas, and that's been really, really helpful for him, for his skin. Does anybody else have any? Thank you very much, Bella, for joining us today and asking that question. Did anybody else have a question that they wanted to ask? No? Okay, so we're right at the 9:30 mark, and so why don't we wrap it up, and we'll have, for anyone that was invited by